And welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about Governor Brown's revised budget. And my guest is Mac Taylor, who is the Legislative Analyst for the state of California. Thank you very much for being here.
Nice to be here, Steve.
Now, you are nonpartisan. You are selected by the legislature. You don't take sides. Part of your job, though, is to, I guess, nitpick the governor's proposals. And
critique is like
critique is a better. And let me say that as we look at the budget, revised budget proposal from the governor, you have now done it. You have ignited further discussion among Democrats and Governor Brown as to how much money is available to spend in the next, fiscal year.
That's right. We came out with an estimate that was just over $3 billion higher than what the governor had proposed. And that's based in large part on how well the financial markets are doing. Mm-hmm. The state relies very heavily on personal income taxpayers and on capital gains. Mm-hmm. And given how well the markets are doing, we think that a higher forecast is warranted.
A higher forecast, but you don't necessarily have much of a problem with the way the governor is approaching the expenditure side of it, correct?
That's basically correct. We think the governor was wise on his forecast and the way that he used money sort of one-time things and was trying to be very careful. And if the legislature were to take our revenues, mm-hmm. we think they also need to be very careful. Under either situation, schools are getting the vast majority of the monies because of the way our constitutional formulas work. Right. And we need to be very careful about how we commit those monies. So there's not a lot left over for the rest of the budget, even if they were to adopt our higher revenues.
But there are some Democrats in the Assembly, especially, that believe there should be some money allocated toward the sort of improving the safety net, which has taken such huge hits in recent years.
Absolutely, and there is some extra money, and those are obviously choices that will need to be made, and they can certainly make some targeted augmentations, and I think they just need to be very careful. We don't want to get back into another problem situation where we've overcommitted on spending because of one-time revenue sources should the financial markets take a turn south in the near future.
Right, and we've seen that happen several times, and it was really the undoing of Gray Davis when he was governor.
Yes, and it's been a problem with these sort of asset bubbles that have burst on us in the past.
So boosting the rainy day fund, that's good.
That's one thing.
Should do it even more, maybe?
Absolutely. I think over the next 3 or 4 years.
$1 billion?
Absolutely. Given our volatile revenue structure, we have monies that can fluctuate by billions of dollars from year to year. And I think a strong reserve is probably the best way for the state to try to cushion the effects of the changes in our revenues.
Paying down the debt?
Paying down debt is another good thing, and the governor has given a high priority to that, which we think is wise.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the volatility. I mean, capital gains, income, volatility, and really trying to figure out our revenues. I mean, that whole system probably needs to be revamped.
Well, if you can try to revamp it. In fact, we made it worse when we passed Prop 30, because now we rely even more so on those top 1% of taxpayers. Right. And so if you're not going to change your revenue structure, it makes those budget reserves and being very careful in the way that you make spending commitments all the more important.
Mm-hmm. You think the governor's doing a good job in terms of his fiscal restraint?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it last November when we came out with our fiscal outlook report of how important it was for the legislature to be very cautious in the way that it made commitments as our fiscal situation has improved. And we think the governor has basically done a good job of sort of reiterating those themes.
But the legislature probably will put out some spending measures that he's going to have to veto if he wants to hold fast, right?
They may, but as long as they're cautious, I think they can make some prudent reinvestments on the safety net and things like this. They just have to make sure that they don't overcommit.
All right. Well, Mac Taylor, Legislative Analyst, thanks very much for coming by, talking about the revised budget. Always a pleasure to see you.
My pleasure, Steve.
And thanks to our viewers also for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. This has been the Sacramento Report. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on My Government on Demand, also on YouTube. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.